I want to talk about the grab back. Some people call it the Hoover. And that's when the person you're seeing, the narcissistic person in your life or the toxic person in your life is trying to lure you back in with the Hoover, which is named after a vacuum cleaner, which is to suck you back in. And this often happens after you try to end communication or end things in the relationship with the person. I have experienced that multiple times in this relationship since our marriage. Each time that it's been done, it's been a slightly different tactic. I'd like to talk about, and I wonder, I'm calling this the first time, but I'm thinking that this may have been happening prior to the marriage, but I wasn't aware of that. So I finally got to a point in our relationship, we're talking about 2 months into the marriage, where I was getting fed up with the disrespect and disregard that I was experiencing. My husband was claiming to want to work things out. We were attending couples therapy at least once a week. We were exploring ways to get through the next few months and to figure out how we were going to, whether or not we were going to pursue a divorce or if we were going to continue to work on the relationship. Some of my requirements were that the affair end with the woman that I didn't consent to his having a relationship with. And, I had explored open relationships and had read a book on polyamory or purchased a book. I had started some chapters, but then I stopped because I was a little bit distracted with the status of my life and having to work and keep my emotions in check. But I eventually decided to go on a trip across the country to get away because it was becoming clear to me that no matter how many times I talked to him or tried to express how I felt about what he was doing and how disrespectful and unacceptable it was for him to continue to date someone who he had been having an affair with, who also believed that he was breaking up with me and never wanted to marry me, felt very uncomfortable. And so I was basically saying, if you want to be with her, you can certainly be with her, but you can't be with both of us and not have us all communicating, so that everything was on the table. So I eventually decided to go travel to the other side of the country and visit some family. And then I went on a trip with my cousin, which was really beautiful, but I was so in my head. I couldn't really appreciate being in a beautiful country with beautiful weather. And then when we got back to the States, I visited some friends and stayed with a friend who had an extra room, and we did some yoga and sound and music meditation, and it was just a really calming experience for me because I was going through this tough time. And as I got closer to my return date, I started to feel anxiety in my body, my stomach, my chest. I was just not feeling settled. And I had also planned this trip so that it would coincide with our birthdays we shared a birthday week, and I didn't want to compete with this woman and for my husband's time and affection. As I said, I was always just like, if that's what you want, that's what you want. And you can have it, and I won't fight for it. You just, live your life and no hard feelings. I can admit that I love you. I can admit that this is not what I anticipated when I married you or when I was with you. But if this is how our life is going to be, and you're choosing someone else and someone else makes you happier than you are with me, then Godspeed and good luck. And that's kind of how I was. So I wasn't interested in competing or having a fight over my husband. That just seemed ridiculous. And so I was gone and had scheduled my trip such that I would be returning after both birthdays, so that there would be no confusion as to who would be with my partner. But my body was telling me not to return, and it was unreal, because I had just gone to a sound meditation, and the purpose of that was supposed to calm and relax. And because I was supposed to be scheduled to leave the next day, for some reason my body was doing something different. And it just got worse by by the hour. And eventually I asked my friend if it were possible for me to stay a little bit longer with her, because I wasn't feeling good about returning, and I was feeling very anxious and maybe needed some more time away. And she was happy to do that. And then I was seeing a therapist, and I had been seeing a therapist on a weekly basis since this had transpired. And I expressed to her that I was also feeling severe anxiety and was feeling like returning was not the smart thing to do. So my husband called me just to confirm my flight details, because he was going to pick me up from the airport when I returned. And that was when I told him that I believed that I was not going to be returning, and that I was going to stay where I was across the country, and that I was going to try to work on just getting my head and life together. I was still working with him the entire time. I had been working remotely for all of the time except for when I went abroad, but I would still continue to work with him, but I would not be returning to the home. And he asked me why, and I expressed to him that I had taken 3 weeks to clear my head and to get some distance from the situation. And after the time that I had spent, I didn't see the benefit to returning to the same situation, because I hadn't perceived that there were any changes or improvements to what was happening that would benefit me. But we did have on the schedule a 2 hours couples therapy session that was supposed to be happening a few days later once I was back in town, just to reassess and talk through our stuff. And, of course, he expressed disappointment in my not returning, and was like, is there anything I can do? Like, would you please come back? Like, I missed you these last 3 weeks, and I feel like, now I really want to work on this, and I don't want you not to come back. And, I was looking forward to this 2 hour couples session with you because I did miss you, and I thought about you a lot. And it doesn't even, he was saying what I wanted him to say, but the facts, were a little different. He wasn't reaching out to me really on a regular basis. He wasn't indicating that he missed me. Yes, we talked a little bit. He reached out one time when he said that his grandmother was ill and, was close to potentially passing away. So again, the outreach was more about him trying to garner sympathy or for what he was experiencing. And, of course I care about his his family and, was just praying and checking in to make sure everything was okay. And it sounds like things got better, but it wasn't aligning. But I told him I'm not coming back because I'm going to come back to a situation where you're going to continuously disrespect me in the relationship and not hear and care about what my feelings and what's important to me and what I want in a relationship with you. And then he said, I'd be willing to do whatever it takes to get you to come back. And I asked him if he'd be willing to end that relationship and to focus on our relationship and to work on healing and improving the damage now. And he said he would. He said he would be willing to end things with her and that he would be willing to work on our relationship. And then I asked him, I said, why does it take me threatening to leave you for you to do that? And of course, I don't even remember what he said, but it was something to the effect of like, you've been gone for this amount of time and I've realized that, I really want to work on this and I really love you. And of course, all of the things you want to hear when you're in a situation where you've been starved of attention and time and all you really want is the person you love to come back to you emotionally and to come to bring that person back that you had in the relationship. So when we hung up, I hadn't committed to coming back, but I thought about what he said and I thought about the fact that we did have this 2-hour session scheduled to work on a relationship. And that night I had already canceled my ticket, but I purchased another one because I was like, this is going to be my shot to hold him to it and to see like if he's really going to do this, I should come back and I should give it a try. So I flew back a day after I was supposed to return, and I told him that I was coming back, and he picked me up from the airport, and he had gotten a new car, and picked me up, and then we went and this is someone I hadn't seen for 3 weeks, and our relationship was on the rocks based on what he was doing in the relationship. Excuse me. And we get back to where we live, and he takes my bags and we're sitting, we get in the house, and we're not in the house for like more than 10 minutes before he goes, I'm going to go grab drinks with my brother and hang out for a little bit. And just like that, I was no longer special. He hadn't seen me for 3 weeks. There was no interest in having drinks with me, catching up, inviting me out to drinks with the brother that, of course, I know his brother. We've been together for years and we were always around family. So just that quickly after he had said and done what he said, I would do whatever it takes. I'll end this relationship. I'll put time into the relationship. Just that quickly, he forgot. And he was going to just dump me in the house again and presumably just go hang out with this other woman, because there's no reason why I would not have been invited to drinks with the brother. Like, you bring your wife to that. Or you reschedule and say, my wife just got back into town. We're going to spend some time together. Let's reschedule or talk later. So that immediately just really upset me. And I just told him, you know what, I'm going to head out. I shouldn't have come back, because I cannot believe that after all of this, like, you think it's okay to just drop me off. Like